Okay, predictions. Predictions for 2021. And let's just get right into it. The first one is US government comes down hard on Bitcoin. Like, how could they not? How could this not happen? Right? You would think, I know all these, I see all these people thinking, oh, it's going to be like this new currency and people will go away from the dollar and they'll have Bitcoin instead. But you think the USA is just going to sit there and let that happen? No. I think they're going to come down hard on Bitcoin. And I don't know what exactly they're going to do. I'm not an expert on this, but I'm just saying, this is my guess is that they're going to do something to make it more illegal, make it more difficult, just put up obstacles to make it more of a problem. Okay, and the next prediction, this is too easy, but working from home becomes a permanent thing. I see this in my own work actually, in that my current employer, they were not work from home people at all. They were really all about having people in the office. But it's like they've lightened up and they've accepted people who are out of town working for them. And I just see this on LinkedIn. I see more offers from people who are sort of looking for people to work remotely. This is a trend, and this is going to have consequences. I think for specifically for office space. Actually, it's. I think it was Duncan Trussell who saw this, made this comment that it's like going to the office. It's just all a lie. It's like we're destroying the environment for the office. All these people were commuting and were burning all this oil and all this energy so everyone can be in an office sitting next to each other. And what is the point? Most of these companies could do the job fine, and it's like it's there's no problem. It's like we're destroying the planet. We're like what is it? Global warming. Like the office is part of that. It doesn't have to be this way, and I think people are seeing that it doesn't have to be that way. I I think that's that original idea, but it's a major trend, and I think a lot of things come out of that. There's a lot of consequences too for real estate values, things like that. All have to do with people not going into offices so much. Okay, my next prediction: Afghanistan. This is I've been reading up on this. I saw a very interesting article on this about uh, it's like, what is it? This war is like almost 20 years now, or I think it's 19. And what happens is it's attrition. What happens in wars that go a long time is that um, uh, like you have two sides and they have so many soldiers and they can control so many locations. But if your side dies or defects faster than you can recruit, what happens eventually is you end up in the death spiral where things just get worse and worse. And I suggest, if you want to know more about this, Google Afghanistan and attrition. And I found some articles. I didn't find the original one, which is better than the articles I found on it, but I'm pretty convinced that I'm seeing, even from like Western news sites, are acknowledging like the attrition issue. Like, how do you make it so that government side people don't die faster than Taliban side? And I don't think there's a solution to that. And I think Biden's got a choice. Either he's gonna go ahead with the agreement that Trump started, or not. And if he doesn't, I think this thing is gonna fall apart one way or another. So I think it's probably better to just try to cut the best deal as possible. And that might be we might be taking some Afghanistan people here back to the USA as part of that. I don't think there's a way out of that. Next prediction: self-driving cars. No, I dearly, dearly. This is what I really want: the self-driving car. I would be so on board to this. It would be so glorious to have a self-driving car. Like, I would get like the self-driving RV. Like, wouldn't it be awesome? Like, you would get a self-driving RV, just type in like, "Oh, I'm gonna take me to Toronto or to Florida or something like that." And you just like lie on the back and you kind of like and you have your kitchen and your restroom, and you just look, you sleep all night. You could drive 24 hours a day, and then you look out the window and like you could just see stuff. It would be glorious. Or also just for being old. I'm getting older, and like I don't want to be like 80 years old and still driving. I want to get in my car and just have it go there. I think it would be great for so many people. It would be bad for some people, obviously. I think there's obviously a lot of employment with driving cars, and it's gonna be a major disruption. But I've seen some articles on this. They're saying that, and this kind of makes sense to me. I've seen the failure of artificial intelligence predictions go bad many times. That this is a standard thing. Like people say, oh, we're gonna solve these. We have the hardware side of this all figured out. And all we have to do is figure out this AI that can drive a car. And this is the perfect example of one of those problems that is way harder than it looks. So it may not happen till. That's why I'm saying no self-driving cars, because I don't think it's going to happen right away. I don't think it may not happen till 2030. I don't think there's obviously nothing intrinsically impossible about it. That's what's tantalizing about it. It's like there's nothing. People sit in cars and they look out the window and they turn the wheel and they push the pedals. It's all just information, and the computers can do that, but. Determining what you're looking at is really hard. And I think, and also just this dealing with the speed of things. I think, what is it? The Tesla, they announced they have this sort of partial self-driving car, which I'm horrified of. I don't want I'm not so interested in driver assist. I'm afraid driver assisted self-driving would just make me fall asleep. I think it's a good thing that maybe you have to steer that wheel, because I think the danger is you get slack and you're just going to plow into somebody, which don't want to do. All right, and the next prediction. This is something I've been following, the Azerbaijan-Armenia war in Nagorno-Karabakh. It was really, I don't know, maybe there's been very little reporting about this at all. I think partially because this is one war the USA was not really involved. The USA's in every single war, but this is one war where the USA wasn't really part of it. It was really Turkey and Azerbaijan's sort of just taking on Nagorno-Karabakh, just doing it, and if you've been following it, but what happened was basically Azerbaijan basically just won. They just won. And the Armenians were in a very bad situation, and they literally, what happened was it was drones. The Turkish drones basically owned the skies, and Armenians just got wiped out, basically. And, Azerbaijan got all the way up to the capital of Nagorno-Karabakh, but they didn't actually go in, but they took the road that they blocked them from returning to Armenia. And what happened was the Russians came in, and there's an agreement that Russia put together where the Russians are peacekeepers, around, what the Artsakh Republic, what's left of it, and they're keeping the border. And kind of my prediction for this is that it looks to me like this agreement is pretty solid. I think the Azerbaijanis, they've got everything they wanted, basically. They would want more, but I think they're basically done for now. And Armenia's in no position to fight this again. They're in a terrible situation, and basically they're having massive, government protests and all sorts of problems. So I think what's going to happen is this war, it boiled up really fast toward the end of 2020, and then it just ended. And now I think it's going to stay ended, Okay, next stock market. I'm an investor. I sort of play with this stuff. And I don't think there's going to be a big drop in 2020. I think actually kind of my take on this is that I sort of go on the we follow Japan theory. And what happened in Japan was you had the lost decade, and there was massive deficit spending to to prevent that, to prevent a, to keep people employed and keep the lights on, basically. And what happened was about, I don't forget how long it was, but maybe like 5 or 6 years into that, the government just decided, the political process, people said, well, okay, so I think we got this. What we're going to do is we're going to try to fix the deficit now because we built up these massive debts, from all this spending. And we're going to try, we're going to raise taxes. We're going to cut government spending to try to fix that. And it sent the economy in a massive, second collapse, basically. And that's why the lost decade lasted so long. It was because of because of the deficit hawkery, basically. And I sort of feel like this is us, that we're going to be, the markets, the things are going to keep inflating. But what's going to happen is the political system is going to say, no, we have to restore we have to do something about these deficits, and that's the signal. When you start, you're going to start seeing articles in the news about how, the national debt is so great and we have to bring in austerity and cutting back on expenses and increasing taxes and all this. And when that comes, it's going to go down. But I don't think it does until that happens. So I sort of feel like, I think that's in the wind. I sort of feel it coming. I sort of see people starting to talk about this, but I think the COVID is still too hot in 2021 for them to pull the trigger on trying to reduce deficits. There's some just catastrophic things about to happen, so they can't do it literally. But after the dust settles, what's going to happen? They're going to start thinking about that. We have our vaccine, everything's back to normal. Let's fix the deficit, and then that's the clue. That's the sign to pull out. And my next prediction, Syria. Oh, I've been following the Syria war. This thing. The Syria war is I don't know if you don't follow this. It's amazingly complex. It is so. But I think what I would say is that I think for certain what is very likely, we don't know what Biden, I think there have been signs out of Biden already that, they're going to get tough in Syria. They're going to start playing hard. They're going to start playing a bigger role in Syria. And it's going to get complicated. It's going to get complicated fast. And basically what's happening right now, because I follow this pretty closely, that Northeast Syria, basically the Russians and the USA, they're on the same roads, and they're kind of they're driving trucks around each other, and they're kind of bumping fenders, and they're sort of they're intentionally not fighting each other, but they're they're trying to obstruct each other and sort of work around each other. And what else is, so it's there's inevitably, it's if the USA starts to push in Syria, it's going to bump into the Russians right away. And the other thing that's happening in Syria is basically the Turkey, the Free Syrian Army has basically become Turkish supported group. There's a small USA supported Free Syrian Army, but it's practically nothing. The USA supports another group called the SDF, but basically the Free Syrian Army is largely a Turkish group, and their main interest is fighting Kurds. Basically, that's what's been happening, and there's a lot of news about how basically Kurds and kind of have been displaced out of their houses. So it's that thing, and the sort of Turkey and the Kurds in Syria is another thing that makes it so complicated for the USA, because what are they going to do? That they're I guess it sounds like Biden's going to go closer to the Kurdish side and move against Turkey, but then the problem is that Turkey has the option of getting closer to the Russians then, and then that's a problem too. Turkey's kind of the bigger prize really than the Kurds. So the USA has two kind of sort of allies that it is trying to keep from fighting, but they're fighting. And so it's all bad. There's no way out of this. That is so good. So I think I mean, the fact that we've already seen statements out of Biden about Syria means that I think there's something could happen in Syria in 2020. And it's not going to be World War III, but, you know, it could be something. You know, there's like, a lot of things are all pointed at Syria right now. It's like it touches all sorts of nerves. Next one, China. Oh, this isn't so much a predict. This is something I read. I sort of think this is true. China's COVID has slowed down the USA. You know, we closed down all these small businesses, and I saw there's an article in it's being going around Japanese news sites, which I read, and it's about how China's likely to pass the USA in GDP in 2028 or something. The original pre-COVID, it was expected to happen in 2030s, and now it's like now that eventually passing the USA has moved up to 2028. I think that's going to be an issue here, that people are not going to like the idea of China having higher GDP than the USA. And so I think there's going to be inevitable some kind of effort to try to stop this. You know, they're definitely putting sanctions and things on Chinese companies. I think ultimately it's related to this. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of issues that USA is pushing on China. Also, Japan. Japan pushes. Japan is big on the Tibet, actually. And I feel in Japanese news, you see quite a bit of Dalai Lama, anti-Chinese press in Japan from Tibet. Though it seems like in the USA is pushing more the Uyghurs or the Turk issue. So I'm China's definitely on. Yeah, I've been to China, and it's like there's like huge cities in China you've never heard of. That's the amazing thing about it. It is big, and it's like that economy. They say the economy's growing, and who knows if the numbers are real, but just looking at it, it definitely is growing. There's something going on over there. So I think, China's going to pass the USA in GDP, and the USA is going to have increasing anxiety about that. That's kind of my take. And my second last, actually, the eviction, real estate in the USA. We got a weird situation. We have an unsustainable situation right now. We have all these people who are late on mortgages, who are late on rent, due to the eviction postponement, and there's no way all these people are going to get evicted like in 2021. Or if the government has this happen, it's gonna be just an apocalypse if all these people get evicted for 2021. So I think that would be their first instinct, is to like, okay, well, we just, it's like, you owe like, $6,000 in back rent, and you like, and you make like $10 an hour, and you're going to pay it or you're going to be evicted. I think that's in terms of the law and the government, that's going to be their first instinct. But sanity is going to have to prevail with that at some point, I think. And kind of my take is who's going to end up taking the hit are small real estate owners. And what's going to happen is the people who have real estate they purchased with debt, they have expenses they can't pay for, they're going to end up selling, and they're going to end up, for commercial real estate. Yeah, I mean, commercial real estate, due to the work from home situation, people aren't going to be running offices so much anymore, and so all those loans are going to default, and there's a lot of apartments and mortgages that are going to default, and kind of my take is we're going to see BlackRock. I think what they're doing is they're building up, they're buying up real estate. That I think we're going to see large corporations come in and scoop up a lot of these sites. And I think what the future looks like is, I think for the houses we're going to see people deals where they turn owners into renters. So what'll happen is they'll default out, the property will go to BlackRock, and they'll basically turn the houses of people living into rental properties, and that's going to be the trend. And the same with with apartment buildings. So people are renters now; they'll just stay renters. They'll be renting, but instead of paying to a smaller landlord, they're going to pay to these large corporations. Because basically, what's happening is, because interest rates are so low, but the large corporations have access to interest to funding in a way. They have a funding advantage over smaller landlords. I mean, I'm not expert on this, but that's just my take. That the large corporations are going to end up sort of gobbling up more of this. So we'll see a concentration of real estate ownership into a smaller and smaller group of companies. And I'll just say a prediction about me, about my life. It's like, whatever happens to the world, I feel like, I think for me, it's like it's been okay, actually. I hate to say this, but for my life, it's like the pandemic has gone fine. It hasn't been a problem, and so far it seems like I feel like I'm in a reasonably good situation to ride this out myself, whatever happens. I think that that would be my suggestion to everyone out there, is to try to take care of yourself, and try to stay out of debt, and try to make money, figure out ways to make money somehow, I think. And because whatever happens, it's going to be it's always better with money than it is with not having money. It's kind of my take. So I feel like my goal is to kind of pass the storm as peacefully as possible myself, and kind of stay try to stay on top of my weight, and on top of health issues, and try to stay just keep earning money, and to try to prosper in this way. And that's basically all. That's my predictions for 2021. I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm a video game programmer, and I read the news. That is all my opinion about this. So if anybody has any contrary ideas, I'm open to suggestions. And thank you very much.